Okay, hey everyone, my name is Johnny and I'm a drummer living in Toronto, Canada. And I thought I would just hit record and share a few of my thoughts quickly on auditioning for bands and how to get the gig. The reason I'm talking about this is because my band has been going through some changes over the pandemic and we had to audition a lot of people over the last few months and I learned a lot from it. Also, having auditioned for bands myself in the past and getting the gig, I just wanted to kind of speak my mind here, sum up everything I've learned about getting the gig and auditioning, and I hope you can get something out of this because it really doesn't take a lot to get the gig, and I'm going to explain why right now. So typically when you audition for a band, they'll give you a set of songs to learn, whether it's a cover band or an original band. There will be some kind of list and some kind of guideline for you to prepare for this audition. And to even be considered as a viable candidate for joining a band, it's pretty black and white. You simply have to learn the parts. And the closest you can learn your parts to the references that they gave you, the better. And coming from the person who has to audition people, it's like a job interview. People will come in, and as soon as we set up to perform with them, within the first 10 seconds of the first song, I can automatically tell if this person learned the parts or not, to the quality that I want them learned. And it's literally that. It's like as soon as the person plays and I can tell they didn't learn the parts, that person is written off in my mind. The rest of the rehearsal is just kind of like, this is a bit of a waste of time. And I don't mean to say that in a bad way, but it's true. It's like if you're a band that's established and hold yourself to a certain quality, you can just tell immediately how much work that person put into this audition. And that's a sign of their musicianship and commitment to their craft right then and there. So to even be considered as a potential member of a band, you have to learn the parts. You really do. There's no two ways around it. When I auditioned for a band about 7 or 8 years ago, they'd given me a bunch of songs to learn. I think it was only 4 or 5 songs, and they said, just learn these songs and we're going to hammer them out and do it. So for the entire week leading up to the rehearsal, I was listening to these 4 or 5 songs many times a day. Even before I got behind a kit to practice, I just had to familiarize myself with these tracks. How is the drummer playing this song? What is happening? What are the little nuances? Then, due to the power of YouTube, I actually tried and searched every version of this song that this band played live. And I watched the videos. I was like, what's the drummer doing? And it wasn't even about me being this kind of go-getter, like I want to really learn. It was just like out of a pride thing. It's like, I'm going to audition for this established band here. Like my reputation is on the line. I have to nail these parts. Like it wasn't even about them. It was about me going in there and being like, I don't want to look like an amateur right now. And you'd be surprised at how many people call themselves professional musicians, yet they'll come in and they really don't prepare for the part. It's sad. And the more I talk to people who have auditioned, the more they tell me, yeah, we picked the person who just learned the parts. It's as simple as that. And going back to my audition with that band, I ended up learning those songs really well. And when I went into the audition, we went through each of them and I played them really well. And that was it. And I was cool and I was understanding and I knew about the band. I didn't go in there acting like I had any kind of ego, because you have to understand when you're auditioning for a band, especially if they're established, you're going into their thing. They started it. It's like you almost have to be so humble as to be like, I'm grateful to just even be here, to be getting even just a bit of your time, for you having me auditioning for this band that you worked so hard to bring to this level. You really have to go in there thinking that, because that's exactly what it is. Anyways, I performed these songs with them. I'd like to think I did a really good job. I remember after we did those songs, they had asked, we want to see what your shuffle is like, and we're going to play a song by us called this. And I had actually listened to a whole bunch of their songs in the week leading up to it. Not just the 4 or 5 songs, but I wanted to really immerse myself in this band. And I remember kind of learning the song that they were asking me to play, even though it wasn't on the list of songs required. And I remember playing the song and they were really impressed that I had gone a little bit above and beyond to familiarize myself with a few more of their songs. So that was really impressive. And I remember in the few days after their audition process, I got the message saying, you're a top contender, and they'd like to try me out for a gig. And when the gig came, I learned all of those songs. And That was it. My advice to anyone out there auditioning, if you really truly want to join a band and want to be a contender to join a band that you admire, really learn the parts. Learn them as perfect to the reference tracks that they gave you. You can't go wrong learning it note for note. You literally cannot go wrong. No one will ever tell you you did it incorrectly if you learn it exactly the way they gave it to you. Another important tip that I want to mention here, coming from myself and organizing these auditions, I will say that we are looking for people who do nail the parts, because when it comes to actually performing, let's say you're the singer, for example, you don't want to have to worry at all about the new member. You're just focused on yourself. You're focused on nailing your parts. So if there's something funky happening in the back with a new member that joined, they're not nailing a part, or they're playing something differently that you're not used to after playing for years with that old original member, it's gonna throw you off your game. And we don't look for that in people. We're honestly looking for people who are just gonna nail the part. The people who really get the gigs are people who come in, learn the parts, are easy to get along with, and who kind of understand the vibe of the band that they're joining. And that's kind of my final point here, is that you really want to do your research on the band that you're auditioning for. Like, if a band has an image, it is definitely in your best interest to look up what that is and try and mimic that when you go into the rehearsal. My band is a retro-inspired band. We play 50s and 60s retro-inspired music. And a few people came to the auditions looking slick. I remember one guy came with a nice leather jacket, and we were just like, yo, this guy, like, I can see this guy being in the band. I can visualize this person being in the band. So if you can nail the parts, look the part, and are easy to get along with and don't have an ego, I can tell you right now, you are most likely getting the part. And obviously nailing the part means you have the skills to play the part as they want it played. Don't go in there if you really can't nail the parts. It's just a waste of everyone's time. But give it the respect that an audition deserves. Show the band that you respect them enough to really learn the parts, and you cannot go wrong. Even if it's for a one-off gig, or a band is in a bind and they're hiring you to play a one-off gig, learn the songs. If you learn the songs note for note as intended, or note for note as the past player that you're replacing used to play, I guarantee you, you will get the gig next time. You will get the call. You will get the recommendation from that band for other people. You will be in the system. You will get gigs. You will join that band that you've always wanted to join if they need someone on the instrument you play. So yeah, I feel like I ended up kind of ranting here because it just kind of blows my mind, and my bandmate as well, that people show up to auditions and really don't put the time in to learn the parts. I understand some auditions were really late notice, maybe 1 or 2 days, but still, with 2 days notice, if you have to learn 5 or 6 songs and you really want the gig, you can learn it. There's just a certain level of perfection that bands and musicians operate on, and you can really separate people from how seriously they take their craft. And that's it. So to sum this whole thing up, learn the parts, and also be super cool and chill and don't have an ego and fit the band's image. If you do all of those things, you have an extremely high probability of getting the job and getting future jobs and having your name spread around the industry. You will be miles beyond anyone auditioning if you learn the songs. It'll put the band at ease that they don't have to worry about you, and it will enable them to see the future and be able to move forward with a new member, which is the most important thing in the big picture. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you got something out of this video, and I truly wish you luck if you're auditioning for a band or just want to start becoming a session player. Learn the songs. You can't go wrong. Thank you so much. Please leave a comment below if you have any other tips that maybe I missed. All the best, and see you soon. Bye.